And welcome to the Every Other Monday show, the bi-weekly news show where we bring you everything about games and tech, as the title says, every other Monday. This week, we've got Marathon's desperate pivot, Palworld's really leaning into being Pokemon with guns, War Dogs is vying for a spot in the hardcore battlefield niche, updates to Sony saying that we're going to own nothing and like it, and as always, some upcoming releases, recent releases, and rumors. This week I'm joined by Zanadra and Jorgamunder.
Hello.
Like usual, why don't we kick things off with what we've been playing lately? I'll go ahead and start us off here. As always, lots of Space Marine 2. Still continuing to play Battlefield. Do like seeing the line go up with the weekly challenges, and some of the changes that they brought in with the recent patch have actually made the game a little bit better. Unfortunately, I am still dying around corners quite frequently, so the netcode is a bit of spaghetti. Picked up Ascend to Zero, since that was on Game Pass. We'll be talking about that a little bit later in more detail, but that was a recommendation you gave me, Zen. I was pleasantly surprised by that one.
Yeah, it was I think I'd seen it on just like on a coming to Game Pass kind of trial. Again, looks pretty up your street.
Yeah, kind of rogued out in general these days, but this one got its hooks in me. And of course, the Black Flag remake, AC4 was my favorite in the series, so you knew I was going to be playing a lot of that. I've gotten everything unlocked in the story mode, and it's just I've completely forgotten the story exists at this point, and I'm just running around in the open world being a nuisance in the Caribbean, and it's great.
Pretty classic Assassin's Creed, isn't it? Oh, there's a story.
Precisely.
My experience with Assassin's Creed.
What about you, Zen? What you been into?
So trying to shake off some of the dust and rust, I guess, for Space Marine. Been a while since I've kind of played that as a main. Recently started attempting some hardcore solo self-rounds in PoE 2 with mixed to poor results, I would probably say. I've been playing a little bit of FF7 Rebirth, trying to get through that, a little bit of Grim Dawn, and what else did I recently start? Blades of Fire, which came to PlayStation Plus recently.
Isn't that the blacksmithing Souls-like game?
It was, yeah. I've not managed to get more than a couple of hours into it, but so far it's got enough mechanics to keep me interested. Yeah, I think that's mainly it. I've kind of avoided Assassin's Creed so far because I know I probably will no-life it, even though Black Flag was not my favorite. It's an Assassin's Creed, so I will no-life it to the end.
Nobody's perfect. It's okay. What about you, Jorgie?
With having just recently quit my actual 9 to 5, I am starting to dip my toe back into playing some video games. Right now I'm doing Division 2, Forza Horizon 6, and some Darktide mostly. I haven't really stepped back into Space Marine 2 yet. Just trying to get myself back into not only the content space, but just the being able to relax for once space,
Yeah, I mean, that's important. How is Division 2? Like, I really enjoyed the first one, but never really got into the second one.
Every time I've played either one of them, I can tell you, or out of every time I've played either one of them, I can tell you Division 2 leagues better than Division 1. Division 2 actually kind of just got its hooks in me, and I've been enjoying playing it ever since I first started playing it. Division 1 for me was a bit more of a slog, and I know that's kind of the reverse for a lot of people. A lot of people are very much on the other side of that, where they really enjoyed Division 1 but didn't enjoy Division 2 as much. But
Yeah, I played a few hours of the realism mode that they released around the anniversary. Is that still a thing, or do they phase that out?
I don't know. I mostly just play the story missions, and if I go back and play one again, I just immediately throw it up to heroic difficulty and call it good. I haven't explored outside of that a whole lot yet. I mean, I'm only level 47 or something like that, so it's
Yeah. Well, that covers what we've been playing. Shall we rotate over into headlines then?
sure.
So, right off the hop here, Marathon is making a little bit of a pivot, following a bunch of clamoring on the usual places like Reddit and whatnot. Bungie has officially confirmed that on July 21st, Marathon is doing an experimental PvE only mode called Vault Breaker. So, for a title that's really been on the struggle bus with user retention, since that first weekend. I think they're hoping that this might widen the net a bit. And this apparently locks players into the endgame cryo archive map with solos, duos, or 3-person queues. So it's you versus all of the bots, which the last time I played Marathon were actually quite threatening. So you actually get to focus on that instead of needing to worry about getting third-partied all the time.
Yeah, I think it's quite an interesting spin for the game, because obviously they've been trying to be marketed against Arc for quite a while. And I know Arc's doing a lot more PvE focused modes as well. I'm interested to see if this is sort of like them actually trying to come up with something to save the game and then maybe sort of reintroduce the PvP, or if they're going to really keep the two separate, just because they are kind of two different markets, the PvE versus the more like extraction shooter stuff. I'm quite interested in it. I never picked up Marathon properly, had it for the free weekends they sort of did when the game first launched. I enjoyed it. It's pretty competent, very colourful, but yeah, the PvP bit was still not there for me.
I mean, the gunplay is solid. I mean, it's Bungie, so you know it's going to have solid gunplay, right? It's just, it was sweaty. Like, we're talking Tarkov grade sweaty, at least when I was playing it. So I'm curious how this is going to wind up going, because if we want to use Tarkov terminology here, you're basically forced to use scav raids. So you have a sponsored kit to drop in with, and then instead of getting items and gear that you then extract with, you get a different currency called vault data, apparently. So I think a lot of the success long-term for this new PvE mode is going to depend entirely on, like what that economic system looks like and what that progression does.
But for me, Marathon always had good gunplay, but that was kind of it. I didn't necessarily enjoy much else about it. So I get they're trying to keep it alive, but it just seems very too little too late, in my opinion. Because I think the window for them to kind of change things around to bring players into a more low speed, high drag alternative, I think that window of opportunity is past.
Yeah, realistically. I think a lot of people tried it during that free weekend and were just like, nope, not for me. And, just being able to come back from that. I mean, it happens sometimes, see entry No Man's Sky, but I don't think we have a No Man's Sky situation on our hands here,
We do not.
I think, isn't the new mode's only out for a fortnight, isn't it? Have they said if it's going to be free to play again during this trial period, or is it still only those who've purchased the game get to have a go?
I haven't seen anything to that effect. That would be smart, but we'll see.
And just pulling the strings on the change then, I guess. It's Sony or Bungie.
True.
True.
I suppose probably one of the biggest headlines of the past couple of weeks is Palworld finally hit 1.0. Now, I played a little bit of it when it first came to early access and didn't really continue past the first couple nights playing it. I think I've seen you playing a bit of it, Zen. Am I misremembering?
Yeah, no. I've picked it back up after, I think I watched Silent do a stream of it, and it sort of reminded me again the 1.0 was there. Within, I think, half an hour of playing it, my wife took over the controller. She named my character, she designed my character, and then found all of the customization options for PAL. So all of my cats have some phenomenal headgear. I've got a penguin in like a night suit. He's loving it. It's, for me, it's kind of the same as it was before, but just with a lot more polish. The Series X version still has a bit of stutter for me that I can't imagine it's hitting even 30 frames, at least for me. But a lot of the new content they've added around the automation, the additional pals, the sort of changes to the world, it seems a lot more streamlined. There's a lot more to do, and there's a little bit more hand holding, which is quite good for new people, rather than just here's a big box and people you throw balls at, like an open world Pokemon sort of assumption. There is a little bit more of a storyline and a quest to it, which so far I think we're about 10 15 hours into it since 1.0, and it's definitely a lot more competent than when it launched.
Oh yeah. The thing that I saw was that they completely redesigned the firearm hierarchy, added like grips of stuff at the high end of things, and new like aerial wing pack for traversal, apparently.
Yeah, I think I've seen a bit on that on a few people's streams, like a sort of like a jetpack. It's pretty cool. Not there yet, but maybe by the next show.
And then we have War Dogs, which has been making the rounds in the news for a few months now because of a lot of the, let's say, jank surrounding BF6. War Dogs, at least on what I've looked into on it, is trying to court a like not quite mil sim, but not quite the casual arcade experience of Battlefield player base. And it's supposed to be a like massive 100-player 2x2 kilometer control zone on a huge like 256 square kilometer map. Now, the way that the mechanics work is that you're actually purchasing your equipment per life, and I'm not sure if that's really going to wind up working well for that arcadey style shooter, but maybe if they're not trying to court that space, that could work. What do y'all think? Have you seen anything on this?
I definitely have. I'm honestly a little excited for it. The whole budget system, I think they're probably going to end up doing away with that pretty quickly. I don't think anybody is a fan of it, but I will say for me, it seems like they're trying to capture the spirit of what like Battlefield Bad Company 2 and what Battlefield 3 had, where it was that bridge between Call of Duty and Arma, you know what I mean? But in this case, they're the bridge between Battlefield 6 and hilariously Arma.
Yeah, yeah. And the fact that they're doing like a huge public live stream of actual gameplay rather than like carefully curated cinematic trailer is just a delicious middle finger to the way the AAA industry normally works. So if nothing else, I'll tune in for the live stream to see what that's like. But as you were saying with the budget system, I have concerns about how that can set up a negative reinforcement loop. You know, kind of like if you played Bloodborne, it's really easy if you're new to the game to get into a place where you don't have enough money to buy blood vials, so you can't progress. Your blood vials are a healing item in Bloodborne, right? So you're actually making your life harder with each death. And I worry that that budget system is going to create a similar negative feedback loop for people who aren't having great games or are perhaps lower on the skill curve, you know?
I do wonder what having like a budget system like that would do to the meta of a game like this, because I've not seen too much about how the budget system works. So please, one of you correct me if I'm wrong here, but eventually a meta build or a meta progression for each game is going to come out and everyone's just going to be playing it the same way because this is what you do to do well in the game. So I'd be interested to see how they're going to tackle that if they kept the budget system.
Yeah. I mean, we can go back as far as Counter-Strike, you know, round 1 Deagle into round 2 MP5 into round 3 OP or M4 or AK, you know.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, I think that budget system is definitely going to leave a bit of a sour taste in everyone's mouth. But I will say it probably is going to end up combating some meta builds, like how we see with Battlefield 6, where you can just kind of spawn with whatever the hell you want. The budgetary restrictions in War Dogs, I think, are going to prevent people from being able to spawn in with the most overpowered weapons all the time. That being said, though, knowing how it always works in this industry, it's going to immediately be one of the least expensive guns is the most powerful, and everyone's just going to immediately start pocketing that thing and going crazy with it.
Well, I mean, if nothing else, having another player in the space will hopefully drive innovation with other titles, you know? Maybe it'll get Battlefield to actually get its head out of its ass.
Yeah, sorry, Zen, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to say might actually make Battlefield start updating the damage models for weapons and not making some things fire Nerf darts while other things fire, 50 BMG, even though they're listed as 9mm.
True. The most recent patch introduced limb damage. I'm not sure if you'd seen that, so it's a little bit more skill-based now. You get melted a little bit less frequently, but you do still die around corners, unfortunately.
We didn't have different damage maps for limbs versus torso. That's not surprising.
Yeah, it was either just torso shot or headshot before.
Incredible.
Yeah.
We've had different limb shot damage since Modern Warfare 1 when it released in 2006 or whatever the hell it was.
Something like that. Yeah.
We've had different damage for hitting someone in the chest, limbs, and head since then, and Battlefield 6 was like, no, we don't need it.
Nah, we don't need to actually have some sort of realism there. But I do hope that it, at least for my own personal taste here, I hope it leans a little bit more arcadey versus more Arma for War Dogs, but
Yeah, I'm right
we'll
there with
see.
you. Then what were you gonna say there, bud?
No, I was just going to say that maybe this could do. We've seen quite a few games sort of come out of nowhere and sort of shake up a genre, like Clair Obscure before the Baldur's Gate, where a slightly lesser known developer comes in and takes its swing at something big like this, and it shakes up the rest of the developers. So even if this one doesn't necessarily do as amazingly as we kind of want it to, it could just be good that it shakes up the main cast and they try to do something a little bit different.
And hopefully, I have one more thing to say about the mechanic system with the budget.
Fire away.
I think, yeah, I think it presents a clear opportunity for them to keep balance, but I'm also a bit wary of it because in the case of like a great example would be like CS:GO or CS2, right? When a weapon was overperforming, instead of them balancing the gun, they just raised the price of it. So I'm kind of wary of if they're going to do the same thing CS did, where they just raise the price of a gun that's doing too well, or if they actually take a look at it and go, well, this is doing entirely too well, let's rebalance this. Because the only gun in CS I can think of that they ever rebalanced instead of just changing the cost of was the R8 revolver, because when it came out, it was just the op, but in your pocket.
Which of those two would you prefer?
I prefer them to actually balance things out. I don't want just raising prices on a gun that's overperforming. I want them to actually go back to the drawing board and figure out why it's overperforming.
Fair. Do we have like a proper release date for that, or is it just going to sort of languish in early access for a while? Either you know off the top of your heads?
I have no idea. I mean, I hate the whole early access trend. Why are we not just releasing games? But
According to the internet, late July, early August. There's no confirmed date that I can see.
Okay. So maybe this live stream will get some announcements there. And this is basically be equal parts hype, equal parts showing off the game and like how it actually plays, and actual release type announcement at the same time.
Yeah. When is the live stream again? Sorry?
The 23rd.
Keep a note.
So moving on. Sony. Oh, Sony. Dear God, where do we even start with this? I mean, yeah, I had my little mini rant last time. There's not really a whole lot more to add there outside of the fact that they've started purportedly already demoing their factory in Austria. You know, we talked about they were going to wind it down, but already moving this quickly, like they're committed. They're committed to the bit.
Yeah, I think this is something that they'd had planned for a long time. I think even following the backlash, like, yeah, they've gone kind of radio silent about it, but they're never going to change their perspective. I think it's certainly going to affect their sales.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned the backlash. I seem to remember seeing a digital petition going past like 320,000, like actual verified real signatures. I mean, plus, this is just going to go towards a walled garden that's so anti-consumer and basically produce a digital monopoly for Sony. And it's just going to be bad news for anybody who plays games and purchases them. Plus, now you're relying on your internet and whether or not PSN even operates in your country, because there's still a bunch where they don't.
No, we saw that with again, so last time the Marvel token, because that comes up soon for the open beta. 130 countries can't even take part. So
yeah,
if that's going to be the same when the PS6 lands and you've just lost 132 countries worth of potential revenue options.
Well,
it's the same thing with Helldivers, wasn't it?
Not even just losing those countries, like the people who live in the countries where PSN is a thing, like you're still losing a huge chunk of the player base because, you know, you've basically told everyone, you know, you guys don't own anything, so we can just remove it whenever we like. So a bunch of people are going to take that to heart and they're just going to, you know, sell their PlayStation consoles and build a PC, or they're going to sell their consoles and get an Xbox. Like, yeah, at the end of the day, like this is absolutely, like you said, it's a move for them to establish more of their monopoly, and it's a huge move for them to try to pivot to more control over the market. But I think it's I think it's a bit more of a going about it at the wrong time kind of deal and going about it the wrong way.
It's like such a far removed shift from back in, sorry, full nostalgia trip here. Old PlayStation 2, where you could bring your memory card or a game round to a friend's house. You could couch co-op. You could, everyone was such a more collaborative gaming sort of culture. And now you've got you can't share anything. You want to play that somewhere else? You want to play that offline? Unlucky. It's just like,
wasn't that their entire like marketing shtick when Xbox was trying to do this? And they said like, this is how you share a PS4 game. And it just had somebody handing another person the disc.
Yeah. It's like they have absolutely, if anyone actually showed them like a reel of all of their previous console adverts, this is just like the complete opposite of everything they kind of built up to a certain point. And it's just such a weird sort of direction for them to take. And like I said, the internet backlash kind of shows the world really wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
It's not with how blunt they've been.
I do imagine that physical retailers or like collector shops or vintage shops are really enjoying this though, because everybody, I imagine, is going to be running out and getting physical copies of like single player stuff that you don't need an online connection for, that if you have the disc, you can't have your license revoked,
Yeah. I've quite enjoyed seeing some of the other companies sort of jumping on the bandwagon to take advantage of the PR, like the Domino's advert that had the now selling still selling physical pizzas, don't worry, sort of thing. It's just outstanding.
Yeah, I think this is not going the way that Sony planned for it to, but I think they've stepped in too deep. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where they're hammering down on it. They're committing to it because they already had put in the steps to start doing it, so they couldn't pull back. You know, I think no matter how much backlash there is, there's too much of them already invested in this for them to give up on it, which may ultimately result in us seeing Sony come to an end as far as a gaming company goes, not necessarily as a media company, but
yeah, because it's all but confirmed that the PS6 is digital only. They're going to try to sell attachment, kind of like you can do for the digital version of the PS5, but with them purportedly experimenting with different form factors than an under TV box. Like, I'm not even sure how that would work.
I have no idea. All I know is that consoles. I'm glad I got out of the console game when I did, because consoles are starting to get expensive enough to where you can get a halfway decent gaming computer for a similar price, sometimes a bit more expensive, but similar price, and you don't have any of the DRM, you don't have any of the trackers, you don't have any of the having to pay for a subscription in order to play your games. It's not. I'm not going on a PC master race rant here or anything like that, but I'm glad I got out of the console game when I did, because it's becoming too cloudy for me.
Yeah, I get it. As a primarily console player, can't refute any of the points you just said.
Yeah, the funny thing here is I was excited that Sony was releasing their first party titles on PC, because, 300 FPS is better than 60. So I wasn't going to buy a PS6 anyway, but I'm definitely not buying a PS6 now.
Yeah, I didn't plan to buy a PlayStation 6. I didn't buy a 5. I have an entry model PS4 that I bought like brand spanking new, and I don't use it.
Yeah, my PS3 is on a shelf back there that it still has PT on it.
I've got a PS1, a PS2, a PS3, PS4, and I think we've got a Vita and a PSP laying around somewhere. But after the PS4, we're like, what's the point in buying a console?
Yeah, true.
I think Portal is probably the only Sony platform I don't own or haven't owned. But I think my 5 Pro might be the last one.
I've only ever seen one Portal in the wild, and it was at an airport in, where was that? I think it was Washington. I've only ever seen one. I can't imagine they sold well.
No, they didn't. And Sony did do some sort of revival update to them to try and improve the connectivity, because again, it still required you near enough being next to your PlayStation anyway, so it was kind of pointless. I think it got better, but probably not enough to make it something you'd go out and jump and buy.
Do we have any other thoughts on Sony, or should we move on to releases?
Not to segue into a later thing here, just to kind of touch on the corollary to Sony. I think Xbox is moving kind of in the right directions, and I wish Sony was doing the same. But it's looking like Xbox is actually really trying to get the ball rolling again.
Yeah, they've got a lot of goodwill to earn back, I think.
Yeah, I think the hole they have to dig themselves out of is significantly smaller than the hole that Sony will have to dig themselves out of.
Very, very true. Very true.
Yeah, it's digging yourself out of the slight little bit of indent in the ground that your dog put in after digging for a bone, versus trying to dig yourself out of the straight up World War I trenches.
I mean, Sony would have to stop digging first.
Exactly.
At least Xbox has put down the shovel. Sony's, you can't even see it now after they've gone so far down.
Hey man, journey to the center of the earth. They're going so far down. They're planning on coming out the other side. Don't worry about it.
Like, all you had to do was nothing, Sony. All you had to do was nothing.
In the immortal words of my lawyer, all you had to do was shut the hell up.
Oh god.
Okay, so releases. Heavy hitters for the past couple weeks have been we'll start with Doom the Dark Ages, the DLC for that. I know I covered it on the channel. I had mixed feelings on it when it first came out and I was playing through the campaign. The campaign is a fucking slog. It is 7 to 10 hours of chores before you get to the good part of the game, which is the end game loop where you can actually get all of your upgrades for the new spear, which make it actually entertaining to use instead of kind of just a pain in the ass. It does still kind of feel like a halfway point between TDA and Eternal. So both fans of TDA's combat and fans of Eternal's combat are left feeling lukewarm about it, I think. But the end game loop proper, after you've gotten to like post campaign, is significantly more entertaining, just because you do start to get all of the abilities unlocked. You actually get enough currency to unlock enough things that you start to be able to like play that symphony on your keyboard the way you could in Eternal, and then the game really opens up.
Effectively, water cooler discussions about DDA. I've heard that the frustration behind finding that loop is very real, but once you find that loop, the satisfaction hits like a new high for some of these people. But if you go through a room in just the right way, once you've got that formula unlocked, it's like you get to the end and go, yeah, sort of thing.
Yeah, like it has really high highs, but until you get there, the default response to clearing a room isn't like, fuck yeah, that was awesome. It's, as I said in my review, it's thank fuck that's over.
For me, I've been avoiding the Doom series since Eternal. I played Eternal and it was okay. Certainly better than Doom 2016. I didn't enjoy 2016. I played it through and through. I've beaten it. Like it's just not my favorite thing in the world. It's one of those games that for me is very forgettable. And I played a bit of Eternal and I was like, this is better than 2016. It's just not worth me spending time on. And so I've just been kind of avoiding it. I've been avoiding seeing any real media for it. So for me, the Dark Ages having like a DLC or whatever it is that dropped that is kind of mediocre at the beginning does not shock me in the slightest. I'm very critical of the modern version of the Doom series. And part of that probably stems from me having grown up playing the original Doom. When I was a kid, we had the original Doom on a set of floppy disks. Because I mean, I'm 27. You wouldn't think that we did, but I grew up pretty poor. So we had a pretty antiquated computer, and we just sit there and play these old school games. Wolfenstein. We'd play Doom. Like, so for me, I was expecting the modern Doom to at least like in partial capture that essence. Never did.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's a fair critique of the new trilogy, honestly. It tried to do something different, and for the people that clicks with, it's great, but it's its own thing. I think Doom has been trying new things ever since Doom 3. And I was trying to play back through that for the channel and do like a was it actually that bad video. I can't bring myself to finish Doom 3. Like, yes, the answer is yes.
gun to my head, I have to pick playing, Doom Eternal or Doom in the Dark Ages versus playing Doom 3. It's going to be a hard choice between Doom Eternal and the Dark Ages or the gun.
Yeah. 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 I made it like 2 hours into Doom 3 and I'm just like, no, I hate every moment of this.
Doom 3 is so bad. It's like, did you ever play the Wolfenstein remake for, I think it was PS2 and Xbox?
No, I missed that one. I skipped straight to New Order.
Okay, so better than Doom 3. That's not a high bar.
No.
It's not much better. And I pray, there's somebody in the comments who tells me, no, you guys are wrong. Doom 3 and the Wolfenstein game for the PS2 or whatever it was. Like, those were great games. Like, I pray there's somebody out there who thoroughly enjoyed those games, because you know what? Somebody needs to, but it's not gonna be me.
It sounds like the difference between reaching for the gun and then slightly hesitating before still reaching for the gun.
It reminds me of a conversation I had on a chairlift when I was snowboarding out in Washington. There's like these like super steep runs, this one portion of Mission Ridge. And I was talking to the guy next to me. He's like, I understand how those runs could be fun, and it's fun for somebody, and that somebody ain't me. That kind of sounds like your vibe when it comes to Doom 3 there, Jorg.
It absolutely is, yeah. Maybe it's fun for somebody out there, but it's not fun for me. I tell you, as far as like original Xbox games go that I had more enjoyment out of than Doom 3, there's this old game called Advent Rising. I'm sure there's somebody out there that's going to remember that game. That game was significantly more fun than Doom 3, and that game was ass.
God, that's pinging off some neurons, but I can't place it.
Same.
It's not a very memorable game, but that's one of those ones that if I was to go back and play, if I was to do a Shitty Game Saturday stream or something like that, it would definitely be on that list.
Okay. So unless we have any other thoughts on Doom, we'll move on.
Yeah.
All right. So the elephant in the room here, at least for me, Black Flag Resynced came out on the 9th. It has consumed like 50 hours of my life since then. We're recording this on the 18th, so y'all can do the math. It's good. It's really good, y'all.
I was gonna say, I'm not a fan of the whole nostalgia bait type of games that we're getting anymore. I'm not a fan of Ubisoft, and some of the glitches that I've seen out of Black Flag Resynced are a little ish, but I haven't played it yet, but from what I have seen overall, absolute cinema. Like I hate to defend Ubisoft in any capacity, but older school Ubisoft games still can go kind of hard. I mean, like I said, I've been playing Division 2, but Assassin's Creed Black Flag doing so well on this Resynced, I think it may open their eyes a bit to what's going to do well versus what they think is going to do well.
Yeah. And to your point, I think it's entirely possible to defend the game while still calling Ubisoft out for their bullshit. Like both of those things can be true at the same time.
Oh.
The update to the Anvil engine, like the game's beautiful. The new combat mechanics, which I was listening to a developer interview a while ago. This was actually the way they wanted to have the combat work in the original, but they had to go with the like AC 1, 2, and 3 combat because of production deadlines. And like it flows well. It's not just the rock, paper, scissors, Arkham style. Like you can actually combo things more fluidly. It's interesting you mentioned glitches. Like I've had one glitch in the time I've been playing, and it was an NPC who got confused, started running in circles, and then eventually fixed itself. And that, while amusing, it wasn't game breaking. I didn't even have to restart the mission. So I'm surprised to hear that other people are having such a rough experience with it.
I've seen a couple rather funny ones. Like one of the streams I was watching of it, there was, I don't know if it was a dog that somehow ended up with a human skeleton, or a human skeleton character that ended up with a dog texture over the top of it. But just in the middle of one of the I do like at NASA, if I remember correctly. There's just a dog walking around in like a human pose, walking around on its hind legs,
Huh.
which was very funny to see. But I've also seen some pretty game-breaking ones, like a guy went to take the helm of his ship and then got ejected and just sent off into the ether.
I feel like at that point you just have to laugh.
Oh yeah, I mean it was funny, but like it is fairly game breaking. He tried his hardest to recreate it and couldn't get it to happen. So I'm assuming that there's like very strict prerequisites that would have to happen for that to even consider taking place. Or it was just like one of those weird one-off glitches that is never going to happen again, you know. But
Yeah.
it was still one of those things where it's just like if that happens and you're in the middle of a mission, you're boned.
True. I guess if I was going to summarize my thoughts on Resynced, it is a highly competent remaster, or not remaster, complete remake, because they had to like rewrite it entirely from Anvil or for Anvil. And it's a remake of the best pirate game to ever exist, I think.
Yeah. I just hope it's a little easier to mod than the old school Black Flag was, because modding old school Black Flag was a huge pain in the butt.
I've seen some stuff popping up on Nexus mods for it already.
Is it just like textures or like reshades? Because in the early days of Black Flag modding, that's all it was just like small retextures and reshade.
I was looking just a couple days after launch, so yeah, it was a lot of reshades, a lot of intro skips, things like that.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to see how devoted the community gets to modding it, but I'm starting to wonder if it's a bit more like back in the day where it was just really hard to mod the game.
Yeah. It's built on the same thing Shadows is, so if Shadows had mods come out for it, we'll eventually see similar.
I don't know. I never played Shadows, so I'm not sure.
Good choice. All right, moving on. Ascent to Zero. I talked about that a little bit earlier. It's an isometric voxel art style bullet hell action roguelite that kind of reminds me of a halfway point between Hades and Transistor. So the way it works is you get 30 seconds to save the world, basically. But you also have a time stop mechanic, and you can still move around, but none of the abilities or enemies or projectiles or any of the attacks move when you've got the time stop, because obvious time stop is time stop. It's surprisingly good, at least for the first like 10 hours or so. When you get to the late game, the difficulty curve kind of flattens out once you've gotten all of the upgrades unlocked. I did a full review of it on the channel, but it's day one on Game Pass. So if you're even remotely interested in something like this, it's just the download time and the hard drive space to give it a shot. It's a shocking amount of fun. Oh, I would say play with controller if you do play it, because there's some nasty mouse and keyboard bugs that exist right now that'll need to get patched out.
I think I saw the. Sorry, go on, Joe.
I talked quite a bit. You go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that even if the Games Pass version wasn't an option for you, it was a pretty cheap title anyway. I think it was like £10, £12 or something like that, or your regional equivalent for anyone not in the UK.
Yeah, I think it has a launch price of $9.59 US, and it's going to be like $12 normally. Yeah, it's well worth that.
Yeah, I'm not as into roguelike games as I used to be. I mean, I think really my go-to roguelike has been the Chaos Wastes in Vermintide 2. But I mean, I've played a bunch of other ones. I played, Gunfire Reborn. I played this, that, and the next, and it's one of those things where it has to grip me. And I really like isometric games, but I don't know that I'd really like isometric roguelike.
Fair. It's really easy to get roguelited out, I think. Yeah.
However, completely unrelated to anything we're talking about right now, I recently saw somebody playing Zomboid, which is that isometric zombie survival game. They're playing it multiplayer, and it got me thinking, the old school isometric Fallout games would go crazy if they had a multiplayer. It'd be so much fun.
That would be nutty.
That'd be so much fun, right?
I'm trying to think how you'd even make that work.
Well, it would have to probably be a modern version of it, or somebody would have to do some serious modding to the old school Fallout games.
Yeah. And that's old enough. You'd have to do the old like BattleNet fake LAN tunneling thing to get the computer to think you were on the same network.
Hitting them with log me in Hamachi, dude.
Yeah.
The LAN network system that almost always registered as a virus on your antivirus.
Alrighty, and wrapping things up here with rumors, leaks, and rampant baseless speculation, we have some news on the Ocarina of Time remake. On July 17th, evidently a indexing error hit the backend database of GameStop's web storefront. For about 45 minutes, a public product page went live, allowing user pre-orders for the complete remake of Ocarina of Time, with a targeted pre-order rollout date explicitly tagged for August 4th. Now that's right around the corner here. Now I have an irresponsible amount of time in Ocarina of Time, although most of that was because my younger siblings kept deleting my save because they were like 2 and 3. So I got really good at speed running Ocarina of Time, but we're getting closer to me actually buying a Switch 2 at this point.
I know. Can you imagine if that? I know obviously it's been, there's a few people debunking it as it's not really what it looks like. But that could be one of the biggest pranks that Nintendo could pull that actually turns out being true. Like, if that actually does come out on the 4th of August, I think the internet would lose its mind. It would absolutely break. But it won't.
Yeah.
I mean, if they waited until it was basically done to make that announcement, they do a few more polish passes and get like distribution set up. They could just shadow drop it and be like, here you go. Have fun.
Have fun, everybody.
Well, they did something similar with Oblivion, didn't they? The remaster, obviously completely different company, but it was like, hey, Oblivion remaster's coming. Here it is.
We're remastering Oblivion. Here you go.
Yeah.
And then they updated it twice since it launched, and we've heard nothing else.
Yeah. Now, as you said, like it is quite likely that this could get easily debunked. Like if maybe it was using a generic database update for a different SKU. Who knows? That's why it's in the rumors, leaks, and baseless speculation section. I think y'all wanted to talk about the new Bethesda roadmap.
Yes.
Quote unquote.
Yeah.
I think this dropped yesterday, wasn't it, on their news page? They've sort of said here's like a state of play. Here's what it is that we're working on. They were talking about their new Creation Engine 3, which apparently has been in development since Starfield kind of came out, and it's going to be like a cross-collaborative platform. So it's like, here's all the teams working on different games, but it's kind of the same engine. Sounds weirdly efficient for Bethesda, from my experience, but that sounds pretty cool. I know that I don't know if they have officially confirmed it before this announcement, but they did say that the remakes of Vegas and 3 were coming, as well as Obsidian obviously now making their own Fallout game. I'm not sure if they're going to be working on the Vegas remake or something completely different.
Vegas 2.
I think that's probably what the internet would want, but who knows?
Keep going.
No, go.
I was just gonna say, with the whole Creation Engine 3 topic, again, also completely unsubstantiated rumor. I was seeing a couple people on Twitter who are claiming to be, like leakers / whistleblower kind of deals, saying that the Fallout 3 and New Vegas remasters are going to be on an earlier version of Creation 3 than the new Fallout game. I don't know if that's going to be true. I don't know if they're going to do what they did with Oblivion and basically just run a skin shell over the top of old school Oblivion. I don't know what their plan is, but either way, I'm kind of here for it.
Yeah, I really liked 3. 3 was dope.
Fallout 3 and New Vegas are 2 of my favorite games of all time. Tale of Two Wastelands, to me, is the only way to play either of them. Being able to jump wasteland to wasteland and just play through all of the DLCs, running through Operation Anchorage, and getting the winterized T-51 power armor, and then going back to Vegas and it's just being like, what's good? And just running around in the unkillable tank armor, or starting off in Vegas and getting some really funny weapons, or like the 2-step goodbye or something like that, and then running into DC and just being an absolute menace with New Vegas weapons. It's it's a lot of fun. So I hope that we're able to do that.
Now the question is this new creation engine going to come with the signature Bethesda jank?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'd almost be insulted if it didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
They actually have a polished engine? Blasphemy.
I've often wondered if that was the downfall of Starfield. It was jank, but was it jank enough?
So it didn't go the like Mystery Science Theater 3000 route where it's so bad that it arcs back around to being good.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it was jank enough to be bad, but I don't think it was jank enough to be good again in classic Bethesda fashion.
Well, I think that about wraps it up for us this week. It's been a pretty slow couple of weeks in terms of news, unless y'all have any final thoughts here.
One more touch on the Bethesda thing is as they did say that Elder Scrolls 6 is planned for release before Fallout 5 is. So we'll have to keep our ear to the ground about that. I'm excited to see Elder Scrolls 6. Skyrim, again, also another one of my favorite games of all time. Bethesda has done a very good job in the past of bringing powerful RPGs to us. So I'm certainly excited, and if all of these are coming in a relatively short order, that'll be fantastic. We've waited 15 years at this point since Skyrim released the first time, and then released again and again and again and again and again.
Maybe the collector's edition of Elder Scrolls 6 will come with Skyrim, so you can buy it again.
Who knows? It might, or you might just be able to play. You might be able to go back to Skyrim. You never know. If they even mention Skyrim in Elder Scrolls 6, I'm like, damn it, Todd.